Hi everyone, this is Yulia. Today's video is to answer some of your frequent questions. And this question is related to dealing with stakeholders. The question I got the other day was, my stakeholder doesn't want to discuss requirements. They just want to start prototyping. Well, what are you going to do then? If you as a business analyst were trained on, I have to do discovery first, I have to understand who stakeholders are, what's the goal, start gathering my requirements, do some analysis, understand the processes, and suddenly your stakeholder isn't really willing to participate, and from their perspective, it sounds like some extra work and they just want to get down to the most important part in their opinion. Here's the thing. You don't want to argue directly with your stakeholder. You don't want to say something that implies that they don't understand the process. It really depends, of course, on your relationships. But sometimes, especially if you are new or if you are a consultant working with an important client, you have to somehow find an approach that works for your client but still allows you to do your job. So if your stakeholder says, let's just start prototyping, what could you do? Well, here's what I would do. I would say, okay, sure, let's give it a try, and hopefully as we start this exercise, you'll help me understand your requirements better so that the prototyping that we might be working on can be supported by business rules and by better understanding of your data and anything else that is needed. And I'm assuming that if your stakeholder talks about prototyping, probably the main objective of this initiative or project is to create a system or application or a feature that is very interactive, that has, say, screens or app screens or reports or a dashboard, something that is very visual, and that's why you would want to prototype. You can just open a PowerPoint, and last week I published another video that focuses on how to use PowerPoint for simple meeting facilitation. You can definitely refer to that. So whether you use PowerPoint or Visio or any other tool you like, you can start it and do a little prototyping, but think about it as doing actually a discovery by drawing things, and that drawing can get information from your stakeholder that is helpful to you. I think I would also ask a question or try to understand whether you're talking about prototyping or storyboarding. Because if we want to depict the flow of what is happening, a storyboarding might be better. And in storyboarding, you may create several frames that show you the sequence of events happening. Prototyping, maybe you're focusing more on the design of the screen and the layout and where things are going to be. So see if you ask, or if you already know, whether you're going to be working on a flow, a sequence events, or something static like a form. For example, if part of the task is to collect information, maybe you can start by prototyping a form that will be used to collect the data. But as you create this form, you probably will be having good questions that will lead you to draw some requirements or elicit requirements from your stakeholder. So what I have here is just a blank screen. I can always create, find a template if I know in advance that we are going to be maybe discussing different forms. But even if I don't know anything, even if it's just a form, you can always just start by using boxes. So let me create a box here. I'll give it a nice, just a white background. And if you're creating a form, you can just draw a few boxes and start giving them labels like name, address, etc. But as you're doing it, you have to ask questions, right? So what is the purpose of this form? What do you want to get here? Is this a new customer? Is this an existing customer? What kind of information you need to collect? What's the goal? So you can indulge your stakeholders in working with them on this. But all the time, you're trying to figure out what is it that they want. And I think gradually you will convince them that you need requirements to support this prototype. For example, you can say, well, look, we need now to understand better what is all the mandatory fields. What is all the information you need, for example, to determine which model of the product customer requires, or what data you need to collect to recommend the best solution here if it's perhaps an e-commerce website. You may want to confirm where the data is stored or will be stored. Is this an existing system? Do you have a CRM? You don't have a CRM? So really, how much depth these requirements are going to have depends on whether this is a new feature or a new system or just a little adjustment. But I think what I wanted to convey to you is you always have to find some way out and play along a little bit with what your stakeholder wants, but still gradually bring them over to the point where they understand why are you asking those questions, why that information is important, and how you eliciting information, how you're doing your job and trying to understand proper requirements. So next time your stakeholder just wants to do prototyping, think about it as virtual facilitation, facilitation of a meeting which is visual. Think about it as modeling of current state and future state. And then, of course, you need to pad it, and around it, you have to create this requirements landscape. So all of the requirements that are needed and that are just illustrated in the prototype, that because your stakeholder may not really understand what the requirements truly are until maybe you start this diagramming or drawing things and so on. Another example of prototyping could be designing a process flow. Because again, when your stakeholder says prototyping, you're not always sure what they mean. Maybe it's all about designing a process flow, and maybe they will be perfectly willing to work on a process map with you. So again, depending on which tool you are in, if you are just in PowerPoint, if that's all you have, you can just create a few boxes, right? And talk about what are the activities of this process, what are the different steps. You use Control-D to copy the boxes, and then say you create a few, and then you talk about each step, and maybe at some point you will talk about a divergence, right? By the way, you don't have to make this perfect. You can just make a little diamond, give it a different color, and say, okay, we're gonna have a little decision here like this, and then depending on this condition, one of the two things is going to happen. It's perfectly possible to prototype a process flow map, create or mock-up or design a process flow map. Sometimes it's just a question of terminology being used. So say, as you start doing this with your stakeholder, suddenly they will start to provide you more information about this process, which really are you translating into business requirements. So let me finish here. The point is, if you have a stakeholder who is more visual, indulge them in collecting information from them visually, and then figure out how to supplement this visual information or this planning or this modeling with additional details, business rules. Perhaps there's documentation that already exists, process descriptions, and then you can come back to your stakeholder and you can ask them additional questions. But use those prototypes or mock-ups or models that you created to help you frame the questions and to help them answer those questions. That's it for today. Let me know in the comments if you ever found yourself in similar situations. What did you do? Do you sometimes do this prototyping without any preparation as part of facilitating a discussion with a stakeholder? And if you have any other business analysis related questions or questions about facilitation, about requirements analysis, let me know through the comments or contact me. And you never know, maybe the answer will come in another video. Take care.